appeal to a country that doesn't have a moral conscience. The question becomes that when white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people all around this entire globe? It doesn't exist. So who are these white good people? I want to meet them. I want to see them. I feel it's not enough.
But that might be all we can get.
No. And guess what? I don't work with all I can get. What I work with is what I have. Listen, you have to have some confidence in the power of African people amongst ourselves to establish a foundation.
We have.
We have it. We have utter chaos in our cities, and you got to say that. You can have a program. I'm not saying we've built a lot of institutions, and those institutions have not been effective. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically. And you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program. Millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world. And if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us. And that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future?
Mayor Kelly.
It's enough to know that if I walk out Washington, D.C. tonight, some black kid in Washington, D.C. is blowing off another black kid's head for repairing sneakers because the institutions that we're talking about, not the things that we hold up to say, look, this is one example. The institutions that we're talking about are not saving the minds of those African children.
Welcome to a rare episode of Straight Out of Politics. I'm your host for today. I'm Jay, or Compton J, or CJ. Wanted to do a Straight Out of Politics episode. Haven't done one in a long time. For those who have been listening for a while and may not know, this was actually the name of my first show, was Straight Out of Politics. Started on my original channel, Populist Voice, which is just on a hiatus, and brought it over here. So Straight Out of Politics is the show today. That second person you see there, that's actually just my phone. And the reason I have that set up is because I've just been having fishy internet issues where my browser will just restart, nothing showing a problem, and it just restarts. It closes everything and restarts. Says, do you want to restore all the windows? I don't know why it's doing that, but anyway, my phone is there just in case there's any haywireness going on, that I can have a little backup. So I kind of have that anxiety to have that. But anyway, starting out with Sister Soldier speaking some truth. And she always is. I feel like RBN is in the mode of the Sister Soldier, Public Enemy sort of radical revolutionary, or aspire to be. I'm not going to say we're there, but we aspire to be that. So welcome again. Nick is taking a day off with some family. So he'll be back in a couple of days or so, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. We'll be back with the Nick and CJ show. But let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today, or the topics, I should say. Let's go over the topics. So let's start with the graphic topic. And let's bring the graphic up here. Great graphic by Aaron. So let me take the time to show you the difference in the graphic quality here. So I put together something very quick just until Aaron got the graphic done. So this one is the one I created. Very basic, very elementary. And then this is the one that Aaron created. So as you can see, it's a step above. So anyway, Ron Placone, and I think we posted this in our community on YouTube, so you can go there and see this tweet that I'm about to refer to. Ron Placone tweeted out how he saw some comments under one of his videos. He's filling in for Status Coup. He saw some comments saying that they were going to unsubscribe to Status Coup because Ron, during one of the streams he was filling in for, was criticizing AOC. So that'll be interesting to discuss. And then there's the other story on the thumbnail. It's kind of a combination story. I didn't label Katie Porter runs for Senate. I more took the angle of corporate media is trying to act like Dianne Feinstein does not have dementia here with Katie Porter's announcement. So we'll be talking about Katie Porter's announcement along with Dianne Feinstein linked with the corporate media, and then their civility politics play by Adam Schiff. So that's the thumbnail art, and then a couple of other stories not on the thumbnail. FBI gaslights Americans over Twitter files. So an interesting story on antiwar.com. We're going to cover a story from antiwar.com, and that's the story we're going to cover. And then we have a story from World Socialist website, NATO to train Ukrainian troops in the United States. So NATO will be training Ukrainian troops and some other locations. We'll talk about that. And I think that's the 4 stories. Yeah, it's just 4 stories. Yeah, just 4 stories today. So those are the 4. Let's check out some comments before I even start talking about a story, so we can just get what your initial comments are here. Also, what I like, if you could put where your location is, so what state you're in. If you're in the United States, you can put city if you like, or if you're in another country, what country you're in, however you identify yourself in that other country. Please put that in the chat so I can toss that up before we get started. But let's do a couple of announcements. And first one, I'm always shouting out the website, so make sure you go check out our website. Let's see. Oh yeah, I do have it up. So our website, strategize nationally, organize locally, and it just goes through some of the stuff we believe in, some of the work. That's our latest video. That's literally, this puts up, it updates. This is our latest video today. Check that out. That's the New York strike. New York nurses go on strike, I believe. So yeah, lots of good information. Our emails, our regular info at Black Network, and then our outreach email. There you can see our links here to some of our social media, and then at the top you have chapter information, media information, summit, so you can go there. Goals for our local chapters you can check out. Is one of our newest items, which we're trying to launch. We're looking to launch in March, but it could be fluid, meaning it could be different or pushed back. So check out the website if you can. I'll take that down now. The next thing is our email. Stop using the Gmail. So the revblacknetwork@gmail.com. Stop using that email. If you need to contact us, this is our email, info@revblacknetwork.com. Make sure you get that update. Also, Discord. Lots of you want to join our Discord. 2 ways for anyone who is contributing to us through Patreon. Of course, you get the Discord. We email that to you through the Patreon app or website or account. And then on Substack, our Substack users, so people who just free, Substack is free. Join us on our Substack. You'll get notifications of when we go live, like this stream here. When we post clips, like the 5 clips we posted earlier this morning. You'll get that sent directly to your email if you join our Substack, and you also get the link to our Discord. So take care of that. If you are interested, the last thing, or maybe one of the last things, like this stream. We're at 210 people right now. So let's like this stream. Let's shoot for 200. Let's not shoot for it, but let's get to 200 likes. That's 115 more people hitting that like button. So if we get 115 more of you to hit that like button, that'll jump up a lot of people into our chat for a better discussion. And then it'll also provide the exposure that RBN would not get due to the algorithm. So please, oops, I gotta open one more thing for that. So maybe we will start with the Twitter files, maybe. So, but anyway, let's do some comments first. We're liking this video, getting us to 200 likes. Where is the item here? And today, straight out of politics. So let's throw up a couple of your comments here. Am I moving slow? There we go. Yeah, I got a bunch of things open, so I might be moving slow here. Zoya, I see somebody tagging Zoya, so I'm assuming she's here. I haven't seen your comment yet, Zoya. But let's throw up a few comments. Good afternoon, campers. Hey, Smexy people, hope your day is comfy. Listening to HLM from 2 days ago, Jimmy just going off on AOC, the Dem Squad, FTV forced to vote. So fun. I did see the actual video. The video advertisement, but I have not actually listened or watched. RBN better watch out, or Feinstein may chew them out like she did those school kids a while back. Yeah, we do have to, I guess, watch our mouths with Dianne Feinstein. When she's in her right mind, she could actually do some damage, I guess, when she's in her right mind. I love Sister Soldier too. She's Harvard smart without needing a degree. Absolutely. RBN is doing commercials now. I think those commercials have always been there. Or no, because we weren't monetized. So when you see a commercial, that means that we have not been demonetized yet. So that happens. Yes. And it's not now. That's been since we've been monetized. But you rarely see them because most of our videos are demonetized. That's just what it is. I like to believe she changed Dr. West's life that day. I take the comments. Compton J, absolutely. You're about to run 12 miles, and that's fun for you. That's cool. Yes, Aaron is killing it with the graphics. I shall agree. They're decent. I think they're decent. All right, so let's get a couple of... That's what happens when Jordan Sheraton bans all critics from his streams like me. That's funny, because that is actually the take I had. It was too long to put it in the title, so I had to phrase the title the way it was, but what I wanted the title, or similar, what I want the topic to be is, doesn't this show the grooming of the grooming by Jordan of his audience? I don't think I've ever seen anybody say, hey, I'm gonna unsubscribe, like I'm gonna unsubscribe because y'all are criticizing AOC. Like that has never been a thing for RBN. I would assume it would be the opposite. You guys are propping up AOC. Now I'm unsubscribing. I would assume and I would hope that's would be the reaction of our audience. Yeah, so CJ, you are my new show. I had to replace Tom Hartman after 15 years. Can't believe he turned into a warmonger. You ever think about breaking down his daily lives? So I saw this because I saw Tom Hartman. I mean, I pulled this comment up because I saw Tom Hartman, John. And this is John Ryan I'm speaking to. So Tom Hartman is the way I came through politics. I didn't go the TYT like most people. A lot of people who say they are leftists came through the TYT tree, whether it's TYT or Jane or one of their shows on that network or one of the branch shows that came out from Rebel to Jimmy Dore to Majority Report. All of these are kind of really just spinoffs or have some sort of root in TYT. But I came through the Tom Hartman because I came through radio. And Tom Hartman was on radio, so I came through radio. And Tom Hartman, Randy Rose is a lib, but at the time I was a lib, and that was my evolution from lib to kept moving over to where I'm moving left to where I am now. And then I started listening to Tom Hartman. This was, what year is this now? Man, this had to have been 10 years ago, maybe. So he was not at all the person he is today. He wasn't at all real radical at all. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But he is unwatchable. I haven't been able to watch him for at least 4 years. He's just unwatchable. It's not watchable. I don't take him seriously, and that's the reason why I haven't done anything. Him and David Pakman, like, I'll bring up David Pakman if he just covers something. I think I brought it up 2 segments on David. He is so mechanical that the ridiculousness that both of them try to play to me comes off so artificial. I can't even take them as a believable. I don't take them. I put them in the Vaush. Is that how you say it? Vaush? Hassan category. They're just so out of bounds of seriousness. But maybe if he does something really crazy, I guess I could cover it. I have thought of it because I've seen some of this stuff, but man, when I click on it, it's like, man, would this even be believable for me to even cover this? I unsubscribed from Status Coup after Jordan lost it over Nina Turner's election. I saw the second election of his reaction. I don't know what his first reaction to because I wasn't on Nina Turner or maybe it was Status Coup as much at that time to even know who that was. To know his reaction the first go round. Tina on Status Coup is the most loyal Democrat regular, Hollywood actress, of course. Okay, I very superficially know who Tina is. Like, I know her face and I know that's her name and she works on Status Coup. I didn't know she was an actress until you just told me. And I didn't know she was a loyal Democrat regular. But none of those surprised me. Not that they're bad. I guess a Democratic regular would be bad, but a Hillary actress is not bad. But I just didn't know these because they're not surprised because it's on Status Coup. So it's not necessarily a surprise. But like I said in another stream, I must say, and I guess I'll start with the Ron Placone since we're talking about that. So, but I must say, I may not have that prep though. Oh, I do, I think. I must say, the fill-in people is a step in the right direction for that network, for Status Quo, in my belief. Because Ron Placone, I like Ron Placone. We've had him on here many times. We'll have him on here many times in the future. He is definitely a step up, or a step left, I should say, compared to Jordan, and he seems to be the more regular host more often, teaming up with Tina. Yeah, what's her name? Tina. And then of course, Miss Brown, who has been filling in for a while, even before he left. She's been doing streams on there, so she's great. She's from Black Power Media. So that's a great move of Status Quo. And then, I have a couple other people that I could be missing. But yeah, so that's new to me. So let's bring up Ron Placone's tweet, and we'll start here with this as the first story. And grooming audience as AOC stands. Okay, let's do that. I'm trying to keep it short. Now, tell me if I spelled grooming audience correctly. I'm sorry, audience correctly. So grooming audience as AOC stands. I think I'd rather call it that because I will be touching on some of that in just a moment here. I'm going to throw up a couple of your things. I debate myself by bringing no, because you could like a person who may not necessarily be a revolutionist, a reformist, because maybe he's the most radical of the reformists. So I think Ron Placone could be, I'm not going to say he is, he could be a reformist. Like, he would be fine if we were able to achieve these things through the Democratic Party. If we were able to achieve it through electoralism, he would be fine with that. I don't think that, but I think he's also fine with going the revolutionary route. And there's things we disagree on. I think we disagree on COVID. I'm not sure. I think I've heard Nick talk about it, but it's fine. And we've had him on the show. Like, we have to get out of the, you can't say anything good about the other. Now that's what progressive Democrats are doing right now. Remember what MAGA Squad has done, and they got these some good concessions, like the military budget concession, and you want to pretend like you can't act like that's a good thing because all the other stuff they ask is bad. We have to get out of that. Like, acknowledge that something is good, and that's good. And I think Ron is good. So yeah. So I like this name for this segment. And Aaron, we're gonna cut this segment. I think I'm gonna try something different. I think I'm gonna try letting Aaron know what I'm gonna cut this as. So let's cut this this next upcoming segment as let's put Jordan Sheridan on it. Let's put AOC on it, and Ron Placone, and something like think of the theme of Jordan Sheridan is grooming Status Quo's audience to be AOC stands. So this next segment, what we'll clip it as, just trying something different this time to see how this goes. So, all right. So next thing is, before I get into the topic, because I don't normally start with the main topic, but I feel like this is a great, it's a pretty good topic to even start the introduction with. We're at 172 likes, 370 people watching. We're almost to our target, but we're gonna push our target to 275. So let's get another 100 people to hit that like button. 100 people to hit that like button. I think this will be an interesting conversation. Now, if you're an AOC stan, or if you don't like to be called that, if you're an AOC, if you're a person who don't mind AOC or you like AOC, that's a better way, more respectful way of labeling you. Don't be afraid to speak up in the comments. I want to know your honest opinion on things. I want to know what you think. If you're conservative and don't have a fight in any of this, of course, I want to know your honest opinion. But let's go back to the tweet. Where is it? Let's close some of these windows here. Actually, I can only close one. Ron's tweet is here, and I'm going to blow it up. And then we'll go to the actual video where he's talking about AOC and see if we can hear this just radical, all out of bounds critique that Ron Placone has given AOC that would make a status quo subscriber unsub. So here's Ron Placone's tweet here. And let's see, where am I? I think, I didn't even check the notes to see if I spelled that right, but it's too late. Spelled it wrong. It's long enough. I saw some comments under a status quo video where people are unsubscribing because we criticize their beloved squad. Reminds me of series shows and people who call and complain because I criticize Queen Clinton. Are now serious shows. Glad being a psychopath child is being passed down to a new generation. And that is a great point. Like, I thought this wasn't a thing anymore. I thought shielding for the squad wasn't a thing anymore. I mean, the strike, you forgot about the strike breaking? I thought shielding for them wasn't a thing any longer. Have you seen the Ukraine funding? Have you seen the calling Joe Biden giving them an A and a B and doing a great job? And pretending and shifting the Overton window to the right when they're doing that, when they're saying he's doing progressive things, when they're saying he's listening, like, and we're gonna get to that video where AOC is saying some things like that. But I don't want to spoil the video. But let's look at some of the comments here and see what people are saying about what Ron is saying here. Just somebody said, I didn't know you were on status quo. I just watched the video. Thanks. Regularly, I'm on. So here's when Ron is on. I am on Thursdays with Tina. Okay, that was Tina. We'll look up who Tina is. But I have been doing Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays while Jordan is on paternity. Oh, so paternity leave is what Jordan is on. Okay, so this is a little just information on just the background on why he is doing it. And let me click on Tina since I didn't know who she was. Let me find out more of who she is. International Woman of Mystery. Chief, so she's funny. Host of what podcast is she a host of? I may have it too big for me to see. Okay, so I mean, I don't see anything out really crazy. Seems like a lot of stuff I would actually retweet. So, well, maybe I can from this time. Anyway, all right. So I now know a little bit about her politics through some of the things she's retweeted. So I see that she could be a Democrat person or a person willing to go through that or keep doing that strategy. So that's fine. All right. So let's now bring up the video because the video is really going to tell the story of that tweet. Was it called for? Let's see this radical analysis by Ron Placone, this analysis that is just out of bounds, that will cause people to say, hey, fuck this shit. I'm leaving. Now, I figured out why this thing was too big like before. I make it big for my tweets. I got to bring it back down. for the videos. All right, so I think this is it. Yeah, I had watched some of it already. So let's go back. Let's bring this up here.
When the Democratic Party aligns with Republicans in some sort of power sharing agreement or power sharing arrangement, the things that come out of that are never progressive, right? If anything, the progressive issues get sidelined time and time again, right? The IDC is a good case study in this. If anybody wants to look into them a little bit more, you can. But basically, you would have, progressive New York senators that would be saying on their websites, yes, I'm for universal health care. Yes, I'm for a higher minimum wage. Yes, I'm for the Green New Deal, whatever these issues are. And then every time some progressive legislation would try to get through the state Senate, it wouldn't go anywhere. It would die in committee. It would die in the committee. And part and parcel to that was the IDC, right? So the Democrats that participated in that power sharing agreement.
Sorry, the name of this video is AOC Cringe. The squad gets concessions all the time. So if you haven't seen that video, and I couldn't find it on Twitter, there's a video of the AOC saying progressives get concessions all the time. So yes, she says that. So anyway, so let's listen some more.
They're like, okay, we'll just bring it to the committee and it'll just sit there and it will die. It will never get to the floor for a vote. So it's one thing to say on your website, to say when you're on the campaign trail, to say when you're door knocking, these are the issues I support, this is what I'm going to fight for. But then when you get down to the wire and you're there and this is what you're doing instead, you're letting bills die in committee and whatnot. After a while, the American public doesn't buy it anymore. They look at you as the senator that cried wolf. So I think we're seeing some of the same things happen in Congress. And so when they were floating this idea last week of the Democrats creating some sort of power sharing agreement with the Republican Party because of this Kevin McCarthy problem, I was just eye rolling. I was like, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, it went nowhere.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. A, it's just not. The Republicans aren't going to agree to it. But B, even if it did, how is this a win?
So I think people are really starting to get frustrated with time and time again. And this is just another, for instance, of it where you see, you see the Freedom Caucus withholding their votes and the squad wouldn't do this. And every single time on every single bill, on every single policy, there's always just enough that we lose. There's always just enough of a split that we lose. And I think people are starting to say, hey, this.
So far, what he said, is that cancelable? Is that unsubscribable? Like, I'm gonna unsubscribe to any AOC supporter, any AOC fan, any AOC person who mildly likes her. Is that so far what you heard from Ron? Is that something to make you unsubscribe? That would make me unsubscribe. But I'm curious, creative experiments. You may have a different reason to unsubscribe. I can't tell. So no one else says they would. All right, so I'll keep it pushing. All right, so let's continue the video. He gets more into the critique of her more in depth, but let's listen some more to Ron.
This is ridiculous. What's going on here? And so here's what AOC had to say about this.
Let's play some of this.
To some of the Instagram stuff.
I see some people say, Dems should negotiate to get concessions. We do all the time.
So let's take that comment for face value. So if what AOC says is true, that they negotiate all the time, what are the results? So isn't AOC admitting to their negotiations never materialize into anything? Isn't this an admission of that? I'm just saying, like, if you're saying we do it all the time, guys, like the reason we don't know because we haven't seen any results, and you won't tell us the plan or strategy. You never tell us what that is. So, I mean, she has a surprised look on her face as if, are you kidding me? Like, we don't know. We know we don't know. So let's listen some more to this person here called AOC.
So here's what AOC had to say about this.
Right. Let's play some of this.
To, some of the Instagram stuff.
I see some people say, you know, Dem.
So it's on Instagram. This is the reason why I couldn't find it. This is from Instagram. Okay.
Should negotiate to get concessions. We do all the time. But what we don't do is bring them publicly in order to empower not just Republicans, but the fascist flank.
Or yourself. You don't bring them publicly to empower yourself. That's what you don't do. You don't bring them publicly to empower yourself. Let me rewind a little bit and continue.
Empower not just Republicans, but the fascist flank of the Republican Party. And ironically, a lot of the concessions that Kevin McCarthy, in nature, they're not the same ones, of course, but the nature of some of these concessions actually do overlap with some of the concessions that have been the subject of private negotiations on the Democratic side. We have also negotiated for certain budgetary, we have negotiated for certain budgetary rules. We've negotiated there have been negotiations around committees, budgetary.
She's having a hard time listing what they've negotiated on. We're going to rewind it just a few seconds so we can hear when she begins to try to list these things here.
Budgetary rules.
Sorry, didn't go long enough. Let's see the different things.
We have also negotiated for certain budgetary, we have negotiated for certain budgetary.
Doesn't sound like a person that has done a lot of negotiating to me. Let's go back a little more. It sounds like she said a little more.
Concessions actually do overlap with some of the concessions that have been the subject of private negotiations on the Democratic side. We have also negotiated for certain budgetary, we have negotiated for certain budgetary rules. We've negotiated there have been negotiations around committees, budgetary rules, and
she just said budgetary rules 3 times. What I'm asking, and what RBN asks a lot of people to do, use your lived experience in analyzing this, and AOC and progressives and just politicians. If somebody in your regular real life was behaving and giving tales like this when they're telling you something, wouldn't you get suspicious? If somebody said, oh, you're in a debate with somebody about who does more for the other person, and they're like, yeah, I do a lot of stuff for you. Shoot, I unlock the garage for you, and then I unlock the garage for you. Yeah, and then and then when I open the gate, then I unlock the garage for you. In your own life, wouldn't you go, why don't people do that and go with their gut with politicians? It feels like people are talked out of their own gut. Because I know your gut. When you're watching this video, you don't have to know politics to know that this person is having a hard time naming stuff she's saying she does a lot of. And not only she having a hard time, the way she's stumbling over her words is such a tell. I'm going to rewind it a little further, and then I'm going to let it play through.
Ironically, a lot of the concessions that Kevin McCarthy, in nature, they're not the same ones, of course, but the nature of some of these concessions actually do overlap with some of the concessions that have been the subject of private negotiations on the Democratic side.
Sabby Sab in the building. What's up, Sab? She knows damn well what people are talking about. She's gaslighting. And there you go. Bingo, Sab. This is gaslighting, but there's certain people who aren't good at gaslighting on the fly. Like Kamala Harris, AOC. This is why she's being known as a person who gives a word salad sort of answer. Because she's not good at doing that on the fly. So let's continue with the video.
We have also negotiated for certain budgetary.
That's one.
We have negotiated for certain budgetary rules.
That's two.
We've negotiated there have been negotiations around committees, budgetary rules, and very similar kind of scopes and areas. But we do that.
Very similar kind of scopes and areas. Is this serious, Sabby? Is this serious? This is not serious here. Like I said, apply in your own life. If somebody is behaving like this, what do you have you taken from that in your own lived experience? I take that you're a lying sucker, and there's no way I'm believing what you're saying. Use your gut feeling, your lived experience feelings, or understanding of people's mannerisms with these politicians. Let's continue.
Prior to getting to the floor vote. Not only that, but when people say Dems should do this, there's also a very critical question of just basic math.
All right, there's so many things here that
there's so many things. So first of all, what did they get then? What did she's saying? We negotiate privately. Okay, what did you get? Well, let's start
Does she
with
though?
Nancy
Does she though?
Pelosi.
Yeah, exactly.
Nancy, what did you get? Fill me in. If something happened privately, what did y'all get?
Nothing.
Name
Here's the
something.
thing. Here's the thing, Ron, that kills me about this. So she's basically criticizing the Freedom Caucus for withholding their votes. That's basically what she's saying there. Like, that's a big chunk of people to go to the floor and not know they're going to be on your side. Well, isn't that the fucking point? That's why they're doing what they're doing. They know if they withhold their vote, that gives them power. That is the point.
Yeah, and the whole thing where she's like, it's math. They have like numbers. Look, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is a joke. The only thing you need to do to join the Progressive Caucus is have progressive car insurance. It's a freaking joke. But nonetheless, they're selling us this joke. They're selling us this joke.
That's a good
So
one.
guess what? The Congressional Progressive Caucus has like over 100 people. So that's a big flank. If they were actually what they say they are, I mean,
Right.
it's freaking. I think like
None of them are willing to withhold votes to get what they want, and
none
we've
of them are
seen
even
this.
progressive. But like,
Right, but even the ones that are, Ron, there are some in there that are progressive. They're legitimately are, but for
Agree
them
to
to
disagree.
say, you think none of them are progressive? None of them?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Like Ron has no hesitation. None. So you're saying none? Yes. None. Yes. None. Yes. Is this on? Yes. None. And she's legitimately surprised. So there's that I still believe in the progressive Democrat narrative. I'm not going to say strategy because I don't know enough about her to know that part, but at least the narrative.
I think like
None of them are willing to withhold votes to get what they want, and
none
we've
of them are
seen
even
this.
progressive. But like,
Right, but even the ones that are, Ron, there are some in there that are progressive. They're legitimately are, but for
Agree
them
to
to
disagree.
say, you think none of them are progressive? None of them?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Not single one? All right, that'll be a conversation for another day too. My point is this: is that
maybe this is the line that gets under that status quo's person's skin so much to say, how dare Ron comes on status quo after years of grooming by Jordan to love progressive Democrats? How dare he comes on and said not a single one. Not a single one. And they're like, how dare you, Jordan, as you have time with your baby, bring on this guy. It literally shatters the dream, the fantasy of people to accept that. That is literally the reason why there's just a lot of people just that refuse to accept it, even though all the evidence is right in your face. You refuse to accept that Santa Claus is fake, even though you found a Santa Claus suit in your dad's closet. And the Santa Claus suit has the same nutmeg, has the same cranberry juice spill that you did as a kid on Santa Claus that day. And you're like, no, but Daddy's not Santa Claus. That's what you have to do. But anyway, maybe it's a bad analogy. Let's get back to the comments. I'm going to toss up as we listen to the rest of this video. So here's a point where there's an obvious disagreement. I wonder if they go into it. I only listened to about 9.5 minutes of the video. So let's see if they do.
they're not willing to do what the Freedom Caucus is willing to do. And that's part and parcel to the problem. I think the folks that voted for them want them to do that. They want them to withhold votes unless they get some concessions. Saying that we're negotiating behind the wall before we get to the floor, you just don't know about it, isn't going to cut it at this point. That means at some point you conceded to whatever the party demands were, which weren't progressive, and that it comes across as you didn't fight for anything, which you probably didn't, let's be honest. We saw it in California when it came to our universal health care bill. They pulled the vote from going to the floor prior to that day because they said they didn't have the votes, right? So that's what they were doing. They were negotiating behind
and then when you ask for names,
they won't give them to you. But here's the thing. The difference is this. When they take it to the floor, and if somebody was actually willing to go to the mat on this and did that, the voting public would see quite clearly who was behind the bill and who wasn't. And I think that is very important information for voters to have.
That's why we wanted the vote on Medicare for all. I mean, that's why they were like, let's get the vote on Medicare for all. No one thought it was going to win. Of course it wasn't. But you wanted to see okay, let's see where the cards lay. Because there was a bunch of people that when Trump was in office and they knew there was no chance of Medicare for all happening, not that there's a chance now, but, with a Republican in the White House, there's no chance at all. They were like, oh, yeah, I'm for it. Now Joe Biden's in the White House. He's against Medicare for all, but it's going to make him look bad if he vetoes it. So let's see who's really for it. Let's see how.
That's forced to vote. Everybody knows that's logical. Anybody being honest knows that. She's confusing progressives with leftists. They are not. They are pro-war strike breakers. Yeah. See, I'm not gonna go there with that. Yeah, let's continue with the video. So
how it really freaking lines up.
But this is what they're doing. In the IDC, it was another example of that. We just talked about that. This is what they do, right? This gives them the cover to say, I'm a progressive. I believe in Medicare for all. I believe in the Green New Deal. I believe in raising the minimum wage. These are my values. This is why you should vote for me. It allows them to continue to keep doing that without ever having to make any movements in that direction whatsoever, right? Because nobody's ever going to know. This is the political party that the Democrats engage in constantly, the political theater that they engage in constantly. And this is why voters don't trust the party anymore and haven't for many years now. For many years now that people.
The reason that this heat is going on AOC and the squad
is because they said the opposite when they ran for office. They were going to fight. That's right. We're going to fight for you. We're going to, put our foot down.
And they're going to cause a ruckus.
We're going to cause a ruckus. And
So
that's
like
not what's
from.
So, this is RBN's audience listening to this, and we're all just like, we're waiting for the problem here. We're waiting for the problem. We're waiting for Ron to say the thing, right? But we have to understand through the lens of Status Coup's audience. Through that lens. So through that lens, Ron is saying some ridiculous shit to them. So just understand that. And let's get back to Ron explanation here.
Causing a ruckus to celebrating the quote unity in your party. It's like, well, wait a second. You were supposed to cause the good trouble. You were supposed to cause the ruckus in the party, and you're not doing that. And again, like, she's using all the like, well, look at the numbers. It's like, yeah, but if you guys don't act as a block, you're not using the numbers you do have. We get it. There's only 6 of you. But if you guys acted as a block every single time, there'd be concessions. And I'm one of these people too. I don't care. I really care so little. And by so little, I mean not at all. I don't care about the aesthetic stuff. I just don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about tweets or Instagram. I really don't care. And if like all the aesthetic stuff was like friendly with your colleagues, but we were getting stuff done politically, I wouldn't care. If we were getting concessions and they were acting as a block and they were holding down the line and they were like getting these wins,
or at least trying to get them. Right now, it appears they're not even trying to get them. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't care. You can call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear until you're blue, no matter who in the face. I don't care. I don't care if we're getting those wins. The fact that we're not every single time we lose by just enough. And if they would act as a block, it could have gone differently. So it's like, sometimes people who won't criticize the squad, they always they're like, well, there's only 6 of them. What do you ask them? It's just like everything we're asking is within their power. We're not asking them to do anything outside of their power.
Ron,
I don't think that she can ride a dragon and shoot healthcare down in the form of lightning bolts. I'm not asking her to do that. I'm asking the squad to work as a block, something they continue to refuse to do. And now they're freaking celebrating it. And she went from
that's exactly it.
There's another clip in here where she's celebrating
that's where
the diversity of the Democratic Party, quote unquote.
In a way that didn't make any sense. We need to play some of this. This was some serious word salad. That was the 4-minute one.
And secondly, that also speaks to the Republican base. The Republican base is very different than the Democratic base in nature, in issue, in parallel, etc. The Democratic Party is a very diverse party, whether people like that or not just in terms of identity. We are very diverse in terms of identity, but we're also diverse in terms of ideology. We're diverse in terms of age, all of those things. And that diversity means that our Democratic base is very diverse in its interests as well. And the Democratic base would not sustain this kind of action.
Oh, man. The Democratic base, this is a new one. The Democratic base would not sustain a force the vote strategy. Diverse my ass, Savvy says. Diverse in ideology? Like, the Democratic base would not survive because we're diverse. The Democratic base would not survive a force the vote moment. I don't understand this. I don't understand people. Why would you unsub because of this? Why would you unsub? I'm trying to think of the person. Is there a person who understands this that's here? Nobody ridicule this person. if you are a person who understands totally why you would unsub from status quo, if you hearing Ron say this, speak up in the comments and I'll put your comments up. I'm trying to understand the logic behind this. Well, that's the thing. You say don't try. This is the thing that people say this all the time. Like, I'm trying to understand why you're saying this. Not that comment, but I'm trying to understand why somebody would unsubscribe because of what Ron is saying here. It literally doesn't make any sense, because hearing what she said, they are literally not even caring about logic at all. They're not caring about whether anything sounds logical whatsoever. Now they're just saying, now they're only speaking to people who are on their side for sure. So it doesn't matter. They're speaking to the Ryan Grimms. They're speaking to the David Sirotas. And anyway, let's listen some more so we can get through this segment here.
So
like the rest of this I haven't heard. Like I said, I only listened to like a 9.5, and we're at 10.5 or almost 11 minutes now in.
Went from, and this is, so it's almost as if she's following a DNC guidebook on how to break down these issues for voters who are not happy. Because she went from, a couple years ago, AOC was saying things like Joe Biden and I shouldn't even be in the same political party. By the way, she's right.
And she's
saying
right.
things like there is no left party in the United States. The Democratic Party
also
is
right
not
there.
a left party.
Yeah, I agree.
And now she's saying, it's like she's rebranding that now via DNC handbook and using the whole we're a big tent. We're a big tent. Which, by the way, that's the opposite of what a political party should frickin' be. Yeah, a political party is supposed to have a frame and an ideological framework that they think will make better laws and rules for a society. And you know who they negotiate with? Other frickin' political parties.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that,
and they form a coalition.
They form coalitions. I'm not saying they need to be 100% monolithic in everything. Of course not. But you shouldn't be some. But on the big issues, like you shouldn't be like, oh, I think everyone should have health care. Oh, I'm not so sure. Well, we're a wide
then you don't belong. Yeah, you don't belong in the same party. Then I agree. It doesn't make any sense.
That's bullshit. And so now she's celebrating this when before she knew it was a problem. And this is why people are really freaking fed up. This is why people are fed up. And, you know, it's not, I mean, I'm sorry. I know that people, they don't want to admit that the squad is really letting us down, because it's like, well, they're the only people who are nice to us. It's like, look, you got to call something what it is. You can't sugarcoat what's going on here. And at the end of the day, it's way easier for them to play it the company way. It's way easier for them career-wise, and that's what's happening. So, I mean,
I think to an extent it is. I think
how is it not?
I think the fear. No, I'm saying that I think the fear of not having any power is really a powerful thing to hold over all of these.
We don't have any power, though. We have no power.
Well, but you're never going to have power compared to like the corporate Dems. But what little power you do have is in, I think, withholding.
We never have power like the power of corporate Dems.
Your vote, or in demanding certain concessions for that vote. And I think the optics are now that doesn't happen whatsoever, which is problematic. I think her voters would prefer, and I think this is true of any of the squad members, I think they would prefer to like at least see the battle happen, even if you lose, because then they know at least somebody's fighting for them. But right now, what they hear is somebody saying, we negotiated behind closed doors. And obviously the jaded response, the cynical response to that, and people are cynical for a very good reason, is, yeah, sure you did. Whatever. You're just as bad as everybody else in Congress. You're a sellout. That should be obvious to her that's what would happen, right? That's of course that's what's going to happen. So if her and her friends behaved like the Freedom Caucus, who she's now criticizing, then there might be concessions, right? The fact that we are entering, 15 rounds of voting here is because they are withholding their votes because they want something.
All right, I'm going to skip to AOC speaking again. because I do want to get through the video. So let's skip to this.
Should we let
what
people
did you
vote?
say in it? I forget. Well,
Yeah.
play the short one, Colin. Play the 50 seconds. That's the only one we haven't listened to yet.
You know, and people say Lauren Boebert has more spine than you. Lauren Boebert won her race by 500 votes. Lauren Boebert took a Trump plus.
So people say Lauren Boebert has more spine than AOC. Now, you tell me if AOC's response, every point she makes, has anything to do with backbone. So let's listen to AOC.
Plus, 9 district, and nearly lost it to an up-and-coming Democrat as an incumbent member of Congress. Lauren Boebert is dramatically weakened. And the people of Colorado nearly sent her packing. If 500 people voted differently that day, this would not be happening right now. And so, you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a hard-standing Republican, she almost cost you your majority. And if it, frankly, wasn't for the New York State Democratic Party and the New York State Democratic Party's leadership and the incompetence there, we would be happy.
I think we got our answer that AOC plans never to use force to vote, is never going to use it. Did you not just hear her say she's trying to speak to the Republicans saying, hey, Lauren Boebert almost jeopardized your majority by forcing a vote? I don't understand. Why is she even doing this? Like, why not just be quiet and let this die down? Like, you look so stupid with these nonsensical answers. I'm going to rewind it like 45 seconds and listen.
Votes. Lauren Boebert took a Trump plus 9 district and nearly.
Let me rewind it some more. This is where she's listing. Now, again, the question, the what I wanted to listen, what we're listening for is if any of the stuff says she has a backbone that she's listing. She's not even answering the question.
Should we let
what
people
did you
vote?
say in it? I forget. Well,
Yeah.
Play the short one, Colin. Play the 50 seconds. That's the only one we haven't listened to yet.
You know, and people say Lauren Boebert has more spine than you. Lauren Boebert won her
Lauren Boebert has more spine than you.
Race by 500 votes.
Lauren Boebert won her race by 500 votes. Winning your race by 500 votes says what about your spine, AOC? What does that say about your spine? What is the point of that, saying that in answering the spine part?
Lauren Boebert took a Trump plus 9 district and nearly lost it to an up-and-coming Democrat.
Okay, understand that is the same exact thing said a different way. Take a Trump plus 9 district and turn it into is the same thing as saying she won by 500 votes. That's the same exact thing. And why is she's saying Lauren Boebert? She's saying Lauren Boebert is bad through all these electoral politics sort of thresholds. And she thinks she's winning by saying this.
As an incumbent member of Congress. Lauren Boebert is dramatically weakened.
She's dramatically weakened.
And the people of Colorado nearly sent her packing. If 500 people voted differently.
You understand that AOC is saying the same point 3 different ways. Do you see? This is not a different point that she's saying. She's saying the same thing. I'm just having an epiphany. I don't understand why people listen to, like, I'm starting to think that this is I'm not going to say that.
Differently that day, this would not be happening right now. And so, you know, if you're a Republican, if you're a hard-standing Republican, she almost cost you your majority. And if it, frankly, wasn't for the New York State Democratic Party and the New York State Democratic Party's leadership and the incompetence there, we would be having that gavel right now. If between them and Lauren Boebert, we would be having a Democratic majority at this moment.
I'm no fan of Lauren Boebert, but I mean,
No.
That had nothing to do with Backbone. I think I'm going to end this segment here. So I'm going to go through all your comments. There's a lot of comments. This is just terrible, man, that people still believe in this shit. Like, why would you unsub because of that? I don't get it. I don't get it. Let me start here. Stop patronizing the duopoly. No, not enough people. It'll be a gradual seeing through. So some more people have seen through who she is, but it's not nearly. I mean, you still got the status quos of the world. I'm sorry. Yeah, they still gonna be promoted even when Jordan comes back. Well, or we'll see. Let's say that. You still got the majority reports. You still got these TYTs of the world. So you still got the Ryan Grimms and the David Sorotas. So it's nothing going to be happening much, y'all. Really? I didn't know that. So it says status quo hemorrhaging viewers equals we are mean to AOC squad too. Oh, maybe that's why they're hemorrhaging, because they're being mean to the squad. Maybe that's what you're saying. That's why she's AOCIA, perfectly reading those dim script like Pelosi. She's learned a lot from Mama Bear. There was a point where you can just distinctly say, okay, it seems like AOC is getting helped by something else. Somebody is grooming her to do something. There is a clear distinction in her history. AOC running PSYOP and gaslighting like a pro. Absolutely. I felt like that was the thing. When I stopped, I was like, man, this feels so like high school lie. And that person just can't seem to find their way out of it. I think we are going to stop this segment here, Aaron. And it feels like I'll end it with this. It feels like Jordan, because the way Jordan has reported in the past, maybe he's changing in the future. This is just a result of his what he has been doing on the channel up until this point. If somebody looked at that video and said, I'm done with status quo, like there is no way we would get somebody who would say that. That's an RBN viewer. So that is just, to me, an indication that you've been grooming an audience to be AOC stands, progressive stands, the progressive narrative stands, the inside game stand. And Ron Placone was called out by status quo subs. I can't believe he posted about it. Not that he was trying to keep a secret, but just that it was so insignificant and ridiculous that you would be called out on something like that. Let's now go to the next segment. I think I'm just going to go straight to the I just do the thumbnail topics first and get those out of the way just in case I don't have enough time. So let's get to the Katie Porter running for, or announces that she's running for Senate, and it's Dianne Feinstein's seat. So this is all in California where I am. But before we get to that, let's do a couple of announcements. Thank you so much. We got ourselves to 360 likes. That is phenomenal from where we were. That is how we got to over 500 people watching us. Now, with that 500 people, that means with 360 likes, we could push another 100. So let's get another 100 people to hit that like button to get us to 460 likes. So hit that like button. The next thing is our website is up. So make sure you go there. That's the URL. And here is some of the website. If you click on chapters, because this is one of the newest things we added, that's why I have it up. You can see some of our local chapter goals, our official launch month of our chapters, and then the cities and states that the chapters will be launching. You can also see our summits. Our videos are all in one place here. These are our different summits. You click on it and you can see the different. You can view some of our outreach pictures when we've been in the community here, some of the work we've done in the community. You can check out Sabby right there, reporting, doing some citizen reporting. I think this is the Julian Assange rally that she's reporting from, so you can check that out. And that's Rome doing some fundraising, and that's the location he wants to change or turn into a library there that you can see him. So again, go check out our website if you have the time, and thank you for that. Again, we're pushing to 460 likes, like the stream. Now it's time to get into the Katie Porter story. Let me see. This is Ron Placone. I can take that down. Katie Porter story. Oh, this is the wrong one. Let's get to the Katie Porter story. Now, Katie Porter, I must say, even though she's in California, and she's actually not that far from where I am. Actually, let me bring up this poll that Nick did. This is a separate story, so I want to do it during our announcement segment since it's not part of a story. But look at this poll that Nick put out. And let me refresh it here. Do you think AOC and the squad was legit, then sold out, or they committed political fraud and never meant any of it? I honestly go back and forth. So let me pose that to everybody here, and I'll put your answers up. As we're liking the stream, trying to get us to 460 likes. Let me get your comments on this. Do you think AOC and the squad was legit, then sold out? Where is he at? Did I lose you? Okay. Or they committed political fraud and never meant any of it? I honestly go back and forth. I'm not going to show you the answers yet because I want to hear and see your answers. So let's see if anybody, you go back and forth too, because sometimes it seems very obvious and then other times I guess maybe it doesn't. I'm sad about Cori Bush. I liked her most. You know what? I have to agree. I did like Cori Bush, and so sad to see her join those ranks. Never legit. Kathy says never legit. Another person says, I honestly have no idea. We have good cookies. It would be a case-by-case basis. AOC was a setup. Cori Bush was legit and sold out. I guess that could be more accurate for me too. Maybe Cori Bush was legit, but she definitely not anymore. Frauds from the start. So most of you saying, or a lot, maybe it's half and half. Let me go down and see if any new comment. Sold out. She jumped ship so quickly, it clearly she never believed. She is a grifter. Now let's go and look at the results from Nick's poll so far and see. So for 2,340 votes, that's a lot of people. 2,300. And you can see mine said committed fraud. That was my vote. And then legit, then sold out. So I guess it depends on who you're answering. But this is the overall snapshot of the poll. 47.5% say they were legit, then they sold out. 36.4% says committed fraud, and then 16% says not sure at all. And this is what how Nick breaks down his answer here. I think this is all interesting. Honestly, being an activist in Missouri and knowing about Cori Bush, I am still shocked about her selling out to the Democratic Party and War Machine. So Nick is also surprised. Some of us said that about Cori Bush. This is why I lean more towards number one. Hard to believe she had this long game, but you never know. This is why I'm so hard. This is why I'm as hard as no one, anyone running in the Democratic Party. I'm a hard no. I'm sorry. I messed all of that up. I'm a hard no on anyone running in a Democratic Party. If they flip Cori, they are flipping everybody or everyone. It's a graveyard where activists turn into members of the ruling class. So such great points Nick made by Nick says he's leaning towards this one. I was leaning towards the other one, and you saw my vote. I'm not sure I go back and forth as much as some of you have said you go back and forth. But yeah, I guess I could say also say that I have also gone back and forth. Now let me pull up here Katie Porter. Okay, so Katie Porter, I can do it here. Katie Porter is case study QB. We're gonna go to oops, where is that poll at? Here. So let's go to my bookmarks because this is where the Katie Porter segment. I have bookmarks here, and we're gonna start with this video here, and this is from MSNBC. I'm waiting for the controls for me to MSNBC, and we're going to talk about this here with this next segment. And again, we're pushing to 460s. Hit that like button. Let's get us to 460. And what do I have here? So we're going to go ahead and call this. Oh yeah, this is Court Media. Pretend Feinstein okay, I think it's pretty long, so it's not going to show that large, but Court Media pretends Feinstein doesn't have dementia. And this is the clip where we're going to see what I'm talking about, how they pretend. Or as we watch it, as we get more into it, I'll let the video will kind of explain itself. All right, so let's play. Where is the controls? This one. Let's play the video.
In Washington, California Congresswoman Katie Porter is getting a little bit of flack from some members of her own party after the progressive lawmaker announced today she wants to run for Senate in 2024. Porter's potential rivals are taking aim at the timing of her announcement. A source close to Adam Schiff calls it an incredible mistake for her to launch a campaign right now, adding, and I'm quoting here, that we are not going to announce in the middle of a natural disaster and are surprised that others would do so. Another Democrat, Ro Khanna, telling NBC he's also focused on the historic weather conditions back home. Here's another reason why this announcement is so notable. It's because
So Ro Khanna and Adam Schiff are two people that the establishment and mainstream media, corporate media, I should say, not mainstream. We're mainstream. They're corporate. They're saying Ro Khanna and Adam Schiff are the ones that should be running or will be running for this seat. And Katie Porter getting out and announcing this is a problem for them. So let's listen some more. Shout out Case Study QB for the clip.
The senior Democrat in California, Dianne Feinstein, has said she hasn't made a decision yet about what she's going to do for 2024. She certainly has not announced that she's going to.
She hasn't made a decision yet. Not like Dementia has already made the decision for her. This is where they're going to pretend as if Dianne Feinstein is going to continue here. Like she's not Ronald Reagan. She can't keep doing this for multiple terms. It's already getting out clearly that there's a problem. They covered it in The Rising Heel. Actually, they covered this too this morning. Robbie and Brianna. But let's continue with Case Studies QB's clip.
Is going to clear the way for somebody else to take her position, telling NBC Today she's going to make an announcement at the appropriate time. I want to bring in now NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray, who is joining us now. And Mark, Porter's communications director tweeted today that the Congresswoman raised something like $250,000 in just 90 minutes after this announcement, right? That puts her on pace for numbers that her campaign, really, her office hasn't seen before, right? It is a bold move.
News. Katie Porter has raised over $250,000 in 90 minutes since this morning's Senate campaign launch, on pace to blow past the public first day fundraising goal of $500,000. Just like that. Raise that money just like that. I wonder from who? Who's giving her this money? Let's continue.
Move by the Congresswoman here to announce now.
Absolutely. And a bold move sometimes to be able to end up getting your name out there where there already is an incumbent senator in Dianne.
And if I didn't make it clear, Katie Porter is as milquetoast as they come. If I didn't make that clear. She's as milquetoast as they get.
And Feinstein, you need to be bold, Hallie. And it is true that Katie Porter has actually been able to raise a significant amount of money in her previous bids for Congress in her Orange County seat. But it's also interesting that if Feinstein decides not to run, or even if she does, this is going to be a very crowded field. That you'll not only end up seeing the lights of potentially Adam Schiff, as you mentioned, or Ro Khanna, other Democratic members of Congress, but also Republicans and maybe even other celebrities in California. Hallie, remember this, California employs a top two primary system. So the top two vote getters, regardless of party, end up advancing to the general election. And that could actually end up having some fascinating combinations. And if you have some 10 or 15 candidates all running for this seat, means that maybe those top two folks, you only need 15 or 20% of the vote on the primary. So this is going to be fascinating to watch over the next 2 years.
Yeah, especially because you have, the shift dynamic here. You have the dynamic of others involved, including, of course, Senator Feinstein, who, as you know, Mark, her and her office have had to address concerns about her current ability to do the job.
This is how they're talking about what they know. I'm talking about the two people on the screen. They have confirmation that this person she doesn't know when people are there. She doesn't know some of the people, recognize people, her friends, her family. There's people she doesn't recognize at certain points. Maybe she recognizes them and then doesn't. Sometimes doesn't know where she's at. In the Senate, has a babysitter. Both of these people know that. And they're pretending, what does Adam Schiff said? What was his critique? You're announcing in a pandemic and before she retires, it's all about the proper steps and who's next in line. Nothing to do with democracy. Let's continue with the video.
Her and her office have had to address concerns about her current ability to do the job, and her ability to remember key pieces of information, et cetera. Her team has brushed off that criticism largely, and in some instances has criticized the criticism. But talk through how realistic it is that she would actually run for another term.
Yeah, and so there's going to be a whole lot more scrutiny on Senator Feinstein than there was the last time she was up for re-election in 2018 and won under California's top 2 primary system, where she ran against a fellow Democrat, that time from the progressive left. But 6 years later, or 5 years later, Hallie, and yes, there are more concerns about Feinstein and whether the vigors of actually a really competitive Senate campaign that she can actually end up doing. And I think one of the reasons, looking at Katie Porter's really aggressive move, getting out of the gates today, even during all these storms, is that there are people who see Feinstein to be very vulnerable. And there are a lot of Democrats, whether in Congress or who are statewide elected officials already, who are looking advancement in that blue state.
Porter is somebody who has raised her profile in the House of Representatives through some of these moments that have, for example, gone viral when she's been on committees or in subcommittee hearings, et cetera. She's been able to, in some ways, break through and make some headlines here.
That's right. And to be able to raise money too, Hallie. And it is interesting that she comes from the progressive wing, kind of the Elizabeth Warren wing of the Democratic Party. She was a vocal advocate of Elizabeth Warren's presidential bid in the 2020 cycle, really kind of comes as an acolyte of Elizabeth Warren's. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of composition of Democrats, Republicans, moderates, independents that we all get. And what's going to be a free-for-all and potentially really competitive and crowded top 2 primary.
Mark Murray, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So that's the first clip. There's another clip where we're going to hear directly now from Katie. And it's also a case study QB clip. Wait, is it this way? Yeah. She was on The Last Word with Loris O'Donnell. And believe it or not, I used to watch this guy. I mean, I watched all mainstream or corporate-owned media because they're not mainstream. All of these shows, MSNBC, CNN. But let's listen to. She comes on his show to announce. So let's listen to this.
The first time Katie Porter went to work in a House committee hearing in 2019, we saw right away that Katie Porter knew how to use props and knew how to play to the cameras recording the hearing. Katie Porter whiteboard instantly became her trademark in hearings. She joined us on this program after that first hearing and has been a steadily rising star in the House of Representatives since then. On Friday night, even though she had no opportunity to speak on the House floor, Katie Porter knew the power of the prop. As you see in this photograph where she is so plainly reading or pretending to read a book titled The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. Katie Porter is joining us tonight for an exclusive interview about the big announcement that she made today.
The threat from so-called leaders like Mitch McConnell has too often made the United States Senate the place where rights get revoked, special interests get rewarded, and our democracy gets rigged. Especially in times like these, California needs a warrior in Washington. That's exactly why I'm announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate in 2024. I don't do Congress the way others often do. I use whatever power I have to speak hard truths to the powers that be, to not just challenge the status quo, but call it out, name names, and demand justice.
Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Katie Porter of California, who is now a candidate for United States Senate. Congresswoman Porter, the first question has to be what America's been wondering since Friday night. Were you really reading that book or just pretending to read that book for the photograph?
I was absolutely reading that book. It was actually my 4th book of the week. I had read a book basically every day during those interminable alphabetical votes in which the Republicans struggled to find leadership. And so that book I picked up at a little free library on my walk from my basement studio here in Washington to the Capitol building.
Okay, so you really were reading it.
This is the thing that the professional managerial class likes to talk about. You're reading a book that says this, how to something bullshit. Like when Nancy Pelosi clapped or tore up something from Donald Trump. Oh, look what she is like. This is such not a thing. But anyway, let's continue. Not the point of the story.
So Senator Dianne Feinstein, that's the seat you'd be running for. She is 89 years old. She would be 91 years old during the re-election campaign if she joins the re-election campaign. 92 years old when elected. That would take her term up to 98, 6-year term. She issued a statement today in reaction to your announcement saying, everyone is, of course, welcome to throw their hat in the ring, and I will make an announcement concerning my plans for 2024 at the appropriate time. Right now, I'm focused on ensuring California has all the resources it needs to cope with the devastating storms slamming the state and leaving more than a dozen dead. What is your reaction to that statement by Senator Feinstein?
Well, I would echo what Senator Feinstein said. I think she's exactly right. This should be a race in which there are different people stepping up and
now both of y'all know that Dianne Feinstein did not write a letter on that of that statement. She didn't click the space sign, the space bar at all. She didn't click a letter or a space bar in any part of that statement at all. Somebody wrote that. So, and we all know that
Californians get to decide who represents them in the U.S. Senate. Dianne Feinstein is a trailblazer, and the path that she has created for women in politics is what.
Like I said, Katie Porter is the milquetoast of the milquetoast. What does that do to say she's a trailblazer and to use her as some sort of person to aspire to be for women? None of my 3 daughters do I want to aspire to be like Dianne Feinstein, who has been corrupt for decades, who is corrupt now. This is the reason why she is even still there, when she should be at home spending time with her family. And spending time with her family because of the condition she has, not necessarily her age. It's not like everybody at that age has to do that, but she clearly, everybody knows she has a condition, and that's why she should be home spending time with her family. But she's not, because she's corrupt. And Katie Porter wants to point out how she's great. You see the problem with being a progressive Democrat, being a progressive in the Democratic Party? You got to keep playing to the Democratic Party so they don't really bulldoze you. So that's their play. Let me give respect. Oh, I'm running regardless if she's running, is what you should be saying. I'm running regardless if she's running because she's corrupt and she needs to get the hell up out of here. These milquetoast professional managerial class people that's held up as some progressive garbage, I don't get it, but let's go.
One that I was able to follow right to the House of Representatives, and she has accomplished a lot, and I look forward.
She has accomplished a lot.
To following in her footsteps to represent California in the U.S. Senate. I also want to echo what Senator Feinstein said about the terrible storms that are ravaging California right now. But those storms really illustrate what's at stake. We cannot continue to have a Washington that ignores the threats of climate change, that is willing to cozy up to special interests like big oil rather than stand up to them. So my kids are in California. I hope they're staying safe and dry. And my thoughts are with the first responders and all of the people who are suffering and having to.
This, where you have to come out and say all these things. Anyway.
To bunker down and be safe. But this is what's at stake in this race. Are we going to have a Senate that stands up to problems like climate change, that understands that our
we're not.
Future is under attack?
No, the Senate is specifically set up to be against those sort of progressive things. So no.
Are already being criticized by some Democrats in California Democrats who could be rivals to you in this campaign for announcing in the middle of this storm, saying that that's an inappropriate time when California is.
It's an inappropriate time. There's a certain way to do it. Rules, norms.
Being battered this way to announce a campaign like this.
Well, as I just said, those storms, which are going to keep coming in the next few days, in the next few months, in the next years, are a result of us ignoring problems for too long in Washington, decade after decade of not being willing to fight.
You see how she took a part of the question and addressed that without answering the question. So I mean, I'm not a Katie Porter person, and I've heard nothing but professional managerial class people talk in, positive light about her. But she's next to me. She's in Orange County, and I'm right at the border, Orange County. Wife's from Orange County, so yeah. I think I'm going to end it here with Kate. Actually, I'm not going to end it here. I have another video. My bad. I forgot about that. Because I'm like, it seems incomplete. That is incomplete because the other video I have is over here. So I do want to play part of Rising with Brianna and Robbie on as part of this segment because there is part of there is a couple of things covered in there that I didn't cover here. All right, so my daughter has been watching TV here, so that's why all the history. But anyway, let me type it in. So I am going to Rise and Heal. And it is this one right here. So let's listen to Risen's coverage of the same topic. There's a couple of different
Representative Katie
one.
Porter announced she will be running for Senator Dianne Feinstein's California Senate seat in 2024. Porter has previously acknowledged that she was considering a bid for this expected open seat. According to The Hill, while Feinstein has not officially announced her retirement, it is anticipated that she will in the next few months. Let's watch part of Porter's announcement video.
California needs a warrior in Washington. That's exactly why I'm announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate in 2024. I don't do Congress the way others often do. I use whatever power I have to speak hard truths to the powers that be, to not just challenge the status quo, but call it out, name names, and demand justice. That goes for taking on Wall Street and the big banks, big oil, and big pharma. It's why I refuse to accept corporate PAC and lobbyist campaign money. I don't want it. And I'm leading the fight to ban congressional stock trading because it's just wrong. To win these fights, it's time for new leadership in the U.S. Senate.
Now, you know how it says she wrote the legislation? That is the very reason they sponsor legislation and write legislation knowing it's never going to get passed, is so that they can put it in ads just like this. And that is proof. See, I'm fighting for it. So understand the Pramila Jayapal, I don't think it was Medicare for All bill. These are all bills written, and I think she's writing a new one for something else, not Medicare for All, that she announced. This is all to project, to virtue signal, to put in ads like this. So let's continue with this, with the coverage from Rising.
If you agree, please go to katieporter.com and join my campaign for the U.S. Senate today. Thank you for caring about the California we can build together.
According to Fox News, Porter's Senate campaign could be tainted by allegations of toxic workplace culture. An ex-staffer alleged that the Congresswoman made rude and even racist comments to staff and said that she, quote, ridiculed people for reporting sexual harassment. And we actually did interview a former Katie Porter staffer on the show last week, I believe. It was an interesting story. I'd encourage people to go back and watch that clip if they missed it. The staffer got blamed for giving Representative Porter COVID
After she had gone to a funeral for one of her former
she was going through something kind of traumatic.
So Katie Porter, the way she treated her worker, you see how the professional managerial class, they're really just liberals. They're really just conservatives. Well, a couple of policy differences. But the true illustration is how she treated her employee. And listen to this.
And the texts are pretty. I mean, I personally have a pretty high bar for. I think there's a lot of complaining, anonymous complaining from staffers about how they're treated. I think maybe a lot of young people, maybe Gen Z people, don't understand that you actually have to work sometimes, and bosses sometimes going to be a little strict with you. This one seemed to go over a kind of line because we saw the text message where Katie Porter is just berating this woman for allegedly giving her COVID. But who had COVID?
Texas. It's text showing Katie Porter berating her employee for getting COVID while at a family funeral.
Or at least demonstrating a certain lack of sensitivity that I think would be warranted in the circumstance.
Anyway, I'm not saying that.
However,
you want to talk about her more broad policy, that's fine.
The thing
I'm glad Robbie brought that up. I'm glad he brought that up because I didn't know that. Because like I said, I don't know much about Katie Porter. Once I identified her as milquetoast, like I didn't need to know anything else about that person.
Katie Porter, regardless, I think has been one of the least disappointing progressives of the 2018 bunch for a couple of reasons.
Listen how Bree has to describe her. Not that Katie Porter's great. Katie Porter has been one of the few people we can count on. Katie Porter has been one of the few progressives that has been great. Katie Porter has been one of the least disappointing.
One, she didn't overextend herself in making kind of broad, very lefty commitments the way that some of the squad members have. I don't believe she's ever identified as a socialist, hasn't really defined herself in terms of policies like abolish ICE or defund the police the way that some of the others have. She stayed more squarely in an economic populist pocket, which has made her incredibly popular. Her whiteboard displays where she, calls out the big banks. She was a member of the Financial Services Committee, which is a committee that people love to be on because of your proximity to Wall Street and your ability to fundraise from those institutions. She was in fact kicked off said committee after 2 years on it by Maxine Waters, apparently because her demonstrations were so effective. It was basically embarrassing people who wanted to go ahead and be able to use these banks as a fundraising tool. So she's very effective. She flipped a red district blue back in 2018, despite being extremely progressive on an economic front. And I think it's the kind of person who could have a long, very public career in politics, as leftists are looking to see who can carry the banner potentially in a presidential run. Someone like Katie Porter, I think,
let me listen to Bree here,
has a lot of features that would make her a broadly appealing candidate in a way that some of the other squad members might start to flag on a national basis.
But she is,
however,
she's getting to the however.
Despite all of those, I think, wonderful attributes, she's received some pushback from Democrats, from liberals about the nature and timing of her announcement. One Twitter user, in fact, critical of Katie Porter's choice to announce when she did announce, ended up saying it's pretty disrespectful to announce ahead of Feinstein's decision. And this is one of the worst campaign launch videos I've ever seen. Another said yesterday, an Adam Schiff source tells me not to expect a Senate announcement today. You don't announce.
Because Adam Schiff expected that seat. It's his turn.
A campaign in the middle of a natural disaster.
This is hilarious to think that they have to wait for Dianne Feinstein to say she's going to retire. Like, she doesn't own this seat. And I'm sorry, this is not trying to be mean here, but we've covered this. This is an open secret now that Senator Feinstein is very old and is having issues knowing who she is talking to and what's going on. It is absolutely unacceptable that she is still in the Senate. This is not my opinion. This is reporting. This has been very well demonstrated by people she talks to that she is not capable of doing the job, that she's in a kind of elderly state where she has good days and she has bad days. But it is inconceivable that she has not retired yet. She must retire. And no one should feel like they have to wait. It doesn't belong to her, especially given what's going on with her. I think that's the most absurd thinking.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. It definitely has the flair of those Ruth Bader Ginsburg, don't retire, it's your turn pieces that got written about when people raised the legitimate concern about a woman who had survived pancreatic cancer, one of the most deadly kinds of cancers, regrettably, continuing on the bench into a Republican administration, hoping apparently that she could have Hillary Clinton replace her. The hubris of saying, I want to be replaced by the first woman president, and therefore I'm not going to step down under Obama, has caused a lot of what Democrats are contending with today in terms of Roe v. Wade and the Supreme Court. I mean, even the most sympathetic pro-woman columnist like Rebecca Traister, who I think participated in a lot of that leave RBG alone, she can retire when she wants to rhetoric, has said after a 30-minute phone call she had with Dianne Feinstein that while nothing suggested a deterioration beyond what would be normal for a person her age, the call didn't demonstrate any urgent engagement with the various crises facing the nation. Every question I asked about the radicalization of the GOP, the end of Roe, the failures of Congress, was met with a similar sunny imperviousness, evincing an undiminished belief in institutional power that may in fact explain a lot about where Feinstein and other Democratic leaders have gone wrong. And that's from one of the most pro-girl boss writers that you're gonna find in the United States of America.
Right, and with RBG, unlike Feinstein,
that was a bunch of word salad to not say and accurately describe the condition of Dianne Feinstein. And that's the reporter. And that's why I said these reporters, man, you can't trust them, especially the ones that's holding water for these politicians like Ryan Grimm and David Sirota. You just can't trust them. And I think we're going to end this segment right here. And we got two quick segments. So those are the two main stories we covered. And then we got two quick segments or quicker segments, probably 10 minutes or less each that we're going to be covering. But these are two important stories. We're at 524 likes. 524 likes. Can we get 50 more likes? Let's get to 575. 575 before we start this last round of segments here. We're going to start these last rounds of segment. And here is the title of the next segment here. FBI gaslights America over Twitter files. And oops, this is not the one I'm sharing. Let's share a different one here. So let's go to the article and then we'll go to the Twitter file link. But this is the article. FBI gaslights America over Twitter files. Now, this is sort of the backdrop explanation to the Twitter file thread we're going to cover today. So I'm starting backwards, but I'm going to start with the article first. So let's read a little bit on the article. Just a second here. Now, FBI gaslights America over Twitter files. And let's read a little bit. This is Newsweek. The FBI is gaslighting the American people over the stunning, if unsurprising, evidence that it engaged in a conspiracy with big tech to silence wrong thinkers in violation of the First Amendment, as the Twitter files have revealed. Twitter files. People acting like the Twitter files still aren't a big deal. And there's just been a number of bombshells, not just the Hunter Biden either. So this is the latest on the Twitter files. Meanwhile, in attacking those who refuse to be gaslit, the Bureau is also telegraphing that it would respond to Congress investigating its hyper politicization and weaponization with relentless information war. Let me say that again. Meanwhile, in attacking those who refuse to be gaslit, the Bureau, that's the FBI, is also telegraphing that it would respond to Congress investigating its hyper-politicization and weaponization with relentless information warfare. The gaslighting comes in the preemptive law enforcement agency Move Along, Nothing to See Here response to the Twitter files. It stated that correspondence between the FBI and Twitter show nothing more than examples of our traditional, long-standing, and outgoing federal government and private sector engagement. The FBI, it says, quote, provides critical information to the private sector in an effort to allow them to protect themselves and their customers, end quote. That's the FBI gaslighting. And we can listen to this article too, but I think I'm going to... Here is the kind of conduct the FBI wants you to believe is completely normal. Now, I don't need to go through it here because now that I read part of that article and we're going to come back to the article, let's go through one. Let's show one of the threads. Now, this thread here is one of the threads that Nick and I have been trying to get around to cover. And it just hasn't happened. This is about a week old. And it's the Twitter files, how Twitter let the intelligence community in. FBI gaslights America over Twitter files. And you heard their response was like, this is just normal. This is normal engagement we're doing with a private sector business so that they can help protect their customers and themselves. That's all. So let's read a little bit and see if that's the case. This thread, the Twitter files, how Twitter let the intelligence community in. And this is number 2. Yeah, he got him number. Okay. In August 2017, when Facebook decided to suspend 300 accounts with suspected Russian origin, Twitter wasn't worried. Its leaders were sure they didn't have a Russian problem or a Russia problem. 3, quote, we didn't see a big correlation, end quote. Another quote, no larger patterns. Another quote here, Facebook may take action on hundreds of accounts and we may take action on 25. And then they show the receipts here with all of those quotes. 4, keep the focus on Facebook. Twitter was so sure they had no Russia problem, execs agreed the best PR strategy was to say nothing on the record and quietly hurl reporters at Facebook. Here's one of the headlines that he shows here. Per our discussion, 1, we can be more candid, pushing the book back to Facebook on background. And 2, issuing a statement brings us closer to Facebook, their vulnerabilities on this issue, and the follow-up stories on Russia. So they had no problem. Let's continue. 5, quote, Twitter is not the focus of inquiry in Russian election meddling right now. The spotlight is on Facebook, end quote, wrote a public policy VP, Colin Crowell. And then there's the receipt there. 6, in September 2017, after a cursory review, Twitter informed the Senate it would suspend 22 possible Russian accounts and 179 others with possible links to those accounts, amid a larger set of roughly 27 suspects manually examined. 2,700 examined, 22 possible Russian accounts, and 179 with possible links to those accounts. Okay. 7, receiving these meager results, a furious Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, ranking Democrat of the Intelligence Committee, had an immediate press conference to denounce Twitter's report as frankly inadequate on every level. And there goes the guy. Twitter briefing to U.S. congressional investigators disappointing Senator Mark Warner. The pressure begins. You're not finding what we want you to find. is what he's essentially saying. You're not finding what we need you to find. Eight, irony. Muse Crowell, the day after, I'm sorry, it's probably part of the rest, but Crowell, the day after Warner's presser, after receiving an email circulation from Warner's re-election campaign, asked for $5 or whatever you can spare, LaFala replied, General Counsel Sean Edgett, I think that's how you say the name. And then they show the receipt here, where Colin, we're only got a short amount of time before Saturday's crucial end of quarter fundraising deadline, and they're just showing the fundraiser email. Now, 9, keep producing material. After meeting with congressional leaders, Crowell wrote, quote, Warner has political incentive to keep this issue at top of the news. Warner has political incentive to keep this issue at the top of the news, maintain pressure on us and rest of industry to keep producing material for them. And there is the receipt for that quote. This is crazy. And here's another one. 10, taking their cues from Hillary Clinton. Crowell added, Dems were taking cues from Hillary Clinton, who that week said, quote, it's time for Twitter to stop dragging its heels and live up to the fact that its platform is being used as a tool for cyber warfare. So Twitter examines the 27 accounts, come back and said 2,700 accounts, and come back and says, well, it's this very small amount. Then the public pressure by politicians and ex-politicians like Warner and now Hillary Clinton. 11, in growing anxiety over its PR problem, Twitter formed a Russia task force to proactively investigate. 12, the Russia task force started mainly with data shared from counterparts at Facebook centered around accounts supposedly tied to Russia Internet Research or IRA, but the search for Russia perfidy was a dud. And they show here how Wednesday, October 11, 2017, this is the executive update. We have initial list of suspicious advertising content, a lot of benign content, need to further investigate before we draw a conclusion. Continue. 13. On October 13, 2017, quote, no evidence of coordinated approach. All of the accounts found seem to be lone wolf type accounts. Different timing spent targeting in ads under, okay. Then the receipt there. 14, October 18th, here's a quote. First round of RU investigation, and that's Russia something investigation, 15 high-risk accounts, 15, 3 of which have connections with Russia, although 2 are retweets. 1 connection with Russia, 2 retweeted it. 15 high-risk accounts. October 20th, quote, built new version of the model that is lower precision but higher recall, which allows to catch more. Let's see that quote again. Built new version of model that is lower precise, is not as precise, but higher recall is going to catch more people, which allow to catch more people. We aren't seeing substantially more suspicious accounts even with this. We expect to find 20 with a small amount spent. Then they show the receipt. Here's October 23rd, quote, finished with investigation, 2,500 full manual account reviews. We think this is exhaustive. 32 suspicious accounts, and only 17 of those are connected to Russia. Only 2 of those have significantly spent, one of which is Russia Today. Remaining. Just amazing. Then they show, let me pause here. To me, this is amazing that they're essentially being forced in a corner to find a problem that's not there. But the FBI gaslights as if this is what goes on all the time. Just astonishing here. We'll read a couple of more, then we'll move on to the last and final segment here. Twitter's search finding only 2 significant accounts, one of which is Russia Today, was based on the same data that later inspired panic headlines like Russia influence reached 126 million through Facebook alone. And there is the guy pushing it. Number 18, just amazing. The failure of, quote, Russia task force to produce material worsened the company's PR crisis. They weren't able to produce material, so it worsened their crisis. In the weeks after Warner's presser, a torrent of stories sourced to the Intel committee poured into the news. So all these supposed sourced committee, Intel committee, poured into these stories. An example being Political's October 13th, Twitter deleted data potentially crucial to Russia probes. You see how the Intel community and politicians use their journalist context to put pressure on Twitter here. Journalism is truly dead in the United States. It's truly, truly dead. And let me read a couple more, and then we'll end here. Quote, where Twitter, a contractor for the FSB, they could not have built a more effective disinformation platform. John Hopkins professor and Intel committee expert, quote unquote expert, Thomas Reed told Politico, and they show that quote in the article there. As Congress threatened costly legislation and Twitter began was subject to be more bad press fueled by the committee, the company changed its tune about the smallness of Russia's problem. They changed their tune. 22, quote, hi guys, just passing along for awareness, the write-up here from the Washington Post on the potential legislation that may affect our political advertising. Oh, sorry, same thing. 23 I'm on now. In Washington weeks after the first briefing, Twitter leaders were told by Senate staff that, quote, Senator Warner feels like tech industry was in denial for months, added an Intel staffer, quote, big interest in political article about deleted accounts. This is amazing to me, and I think I'm going to end it there with this, that Twitter looks for an issue, don't find an issue, tell the Intel community and politicians. Politicians put pressure through their media contacts, and voila, now Twitter says we have a problem. Just astonishing, and I think I can end that there. Let's quickly move to the last story here. And the last story is actually this here. And now, originally, I guess I could play it. Originally, I wanted to play, and I guess I can still do it. Let's bring it up. I wanted to play the Joe Scarborough segment on this next story, and that's NATO train hundreds of Ukrainian troops in Russia and Germany. And so NATO moves closer to World War III. I think we can do that. So NATO to train hundreds of Ukrainian troops in U.S. and Germany. I think it's in Oklahoma where they're going to be doing it in the United States, believe it or not. Before I get to that story, let me see if there's any lingering comments from the last story here. No, okay. There are, but not for that. Let me see. We'll read these okay, I see a super chat. Good thing I looked over here. Yeah, exactly. From that last story. Russia. All right, so I think I can move to the next one. I don't think I see any other super chats. I caught the one. Good thing I looked. Oh, here's another one. Got that one. Let me see if there's another one here. I don't think I see any other one. All right, so let's now go to the last and final story here. And let me bring up YouTube. Or actually, where did I get that clip? Let me bring up Joe Scarborough here. Now, I'm showing you the headline, but I think I want to start with the segment. And it was a very weird segment, or a really weird start with Morning Joe's show this morning, because sometimes they talk about sports, but this time they were spending an unusual amount of time talking about sports, which I thought was very weird. And it was clearly because they didn't have any other story to report to the ruling class, which is the people who watch their channel. So I'm going to fast forward through some of this here before I put it up on screen. Okay. Let's see. We're going to go to here. And now I can put it on the screen. Because does he talk about it here? Am I tripping? Could have swore he talked about it here. Oh, yeah. I was supposed to add that to the Twitter files. But anyway, so let's read this here. So the Joe Scarborough was supposed to be part of the Twitter files. Was what I was supposed to play. So I'll skip that and just cover this article here. Let's read the article, but the title, and we can begin the segment here. Aaron, NATO to train hundreds of Ukrainian troops in U.S. and Germany. And let's read. The United States and Germany have announced they will expand their training of Ukrainian troops inside their own borders, for further embroiling them in a war with Russia. The Pentagon announced Tuesday that it will train Ukrainian troops at the Fort Sill, Oklahoma, on how to operate the Patriot missile system, the most advanced weapon sent to Ukraine to date. The Pentagon's announcement is, in the words of the Washington Post, the latest test of Russia President Vladimir Putin's threshold for Western intervention in the conflict. Last month, the Biden administration announced that it would send a Patriot missile battery capable of downing Russian aircraft flying over Russian territory to Ukraine. Last week, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, I always said that name badly, I always say that, officials announced that they would send another battery of their own. Quote, training for Ukrainian forces on the Patriot air defense system will begin as soon as next week at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Patrick Ryder said on Tuesday, quote, the training will prepare approximately 90 to 100 Ukrainian soldiers to operate, maintain, and sustain the defense system over a training course expected to last several months, end quote. Pointing to the extent of interoperability, that already exists between NATO military command structure and the Ukrainian military, Ryder said, here's a quote, there has been training of Ukrainian forces in the United States before, as well as development. Ukrainians have attended our professional military education school. They have embedded in headquarters of some of our unit. They have embedded in headquarters of some of our units. Okay. The Pentagon official also confirmed that the U.S. aims to train approximately 500 troops at a time at U.S. military facility in Germany on, quote, combined arms warfare involving both the Bradley infantry fighting vehicle that they are already being sent to Ukraine and the main battle tanks that NATO is expected to provide in the near future. So the United States is turning up the game, and NATO, because that's when I say the United States in this context, I'm talking about NATO, and NATO is the United States. It's one and the same, and because the United States provides the majority of NATO backing and funding. So NATO is turning up and wanting to prolong this war, and it's just astonishing how some people on the left, including some of the boutique left, now we call the NATO left, are still kind of going along with this, are still kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was for it in the beginning, but now not so much kind of thing. I think Kyle has this kind of stance. Look where it's coming to, though. The Pentagon's announcements comes after U.S. President Joe Biden announced a $3 billion arms shipment to Ukraine, the largest to date, and after Congress passed a bill allocating another $50 billion to the war. The latest weapons package included the deployment of dozens of Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, which essentially function as small tanks. Even as they pour unprecedented amounts of weapons into Ukraine, the NATO powers are preparing to even further escalate their involvement in the war. Further escalate. Sending weapons and further escalating. On top of that, a major inflection point is expected to come with the January 20th summit of Ukraine contact group in Ramstein, Germany. Commenting on the upcoming summit, The Guardian wrote, quote, a key moment is expected to come next week when Western defense ministers meet on 20th January for the next Ukraine contact group meeting to discuss future military aid. Reports suggest the U.S. is now considering announcing at that meeting it will send Stryker armored combat vehicles. This is our money being spent on all of these advanced weaponry, turning up for and pushing towards and instigating towards World War III. On Tuesday, German foreign minister, I'll leave it there, you can read the name, visited Ukraine, declaring Germany's solidarity and support, which includes further arms delivery. Last week, Germany announced that it would send 40 infantry fighting vehicles into combat. MIDAR, infantry fighting vehicles into combat. Poland and Lithuania have announced that they plan to send Leopard 2 main battle tanks to Ukraine, but that would require Germany's permission, as these countries signed export agreements as a condition of receiving the tank. After meeting with bearer Bach, Ukraine Foreign Ministry Minister Kabela commented, quote, "Every minute during the visit, the topic of Leopard invisibly accompanied us." He added, quote, "I think that German government somewhere deep down understands that this decision will be made and the tanks will be transferred to Ukraine." Commenting on the discussion about sending main battle tanks, a U.S. official told Politico, quote, "If they want to take back territory, they need tanks." To date, the war in Ukraine has killed or injured over 200,000 Ukrainians and Russians, according to statistics cited by U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Miley. And I'm going to leave it there. You can go check out the rest of this article. NATO to train hundreds of Ukrainian troops in U.S. and Germany. Just the escalation of war. I see that super chat. So I'm going to read super chats and cut this segment here, but I can leave with these final words here for this segment as, I mean, just the escalation by NATO and the United States, one and the same, of this Ukrainian war, the escalation also at the same time with escalating war with Germany, is just showing that the big bully United States is throwing a temper tantrum because they're losing their unipolar world, and everybody's not falling in line on an international scale. And I think I'll end it there and go to super chats next. But let me get something set up here. As to read this out, let me bring up a outgoing video. I don't know why it took me so long to say that, but I'm looking for an outgoing video to have prepped here as we read our super chats. Oh, check out this graphic. So let me share the screen here and show a couple of graphics that you can make sure you're supporting the channel and supporting our fund, our labor and equipment fund, because these are just some of the graphics. So you got this one here made by Aaron. Here's another one. You may not have seen this one. This is our RBN Live one that's pinned to our Twitter, to the RBN Twitter account. Let me close this one so I won't keep filling it up. So that's another one. I like that one there. We got some more. I don't want to have to scroll through a bunch. Let me see if I have them in a better place here for us to look at them. Or we can scroll. Oops. I don't know why. Where am I? I need to be here. Okay, so now let's look at some of the other ones here. So we see that one made by her, and we're gonna scroll down a lot. Are we gonna scroll down a lot? Good amount. Okay, here goes another one made by Erin, our editor. And then she also made this one. If you haven't seen these, let me give you the title. New York nurses go on strike. Danny Haifon's wife is one of the nurses. So check out that title that was released earlier today. Check out this one. Also, Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball are the Beyonce and Jay-Z of the NATO left. another graphic by Aaron. Here's another one. Proof progressives would vote against defund the police. Overton window shifting. The progressive squad. So these great graphics, you are not anti-war if you vote for Republicans or Democrat. So these great graphics, U.S. military preparing the stage for war with China, are done by our editor. Make sure you support us. Support our Venmo and our Cash App. If you would like to donate, I think, yeah, they're scrolling there at the bottom. But your support will go to help pay adequately Aaron, our editor. So please support if you can. But we're gonna now, oops, I can put that back up and bring up the closeout video as I read you the super chats. So super chats are next. But let me see what closeout video what am I in? Not my own. I thought I was here. This is where I wanted to go. So let's go to a closeout video. Could have set up here. Oh yeah. No, we used that one last time. So I think I'm going to use this one here. MLK we'll be using for our closeout video. So let's prep it up. Let's get it all set up to go. And now let's get to some super chats on our way out. Thank you for those that are watching. Make sure you like the stream on your way out. Where are the super chats? So these are the ones I have saved. I'm late, but Ron worked for Jimmy for many years. Yes, Ron did. Amir, thank you for that super chat. Here goes one by Jay. Come on, guys. She needs her goodbye film like Nancy. She does. He's speaking of Dianne Feinstein. Here's another one. Stepping in to say I'm addicted to Chat GPT, the Al chatbot that can answer almost any question I've asked it about economics, foreign policy. I'm not sure what this is. I don't even understand what you're even telling us. Bree is such a lib. When she gonna give up on them? So he's saying Bree is a lib because she's still trying to convince some people. She definitely bamboozled me, and I have a reasonably good BS meter. I wonder how Paula Jean would answer this poll. Is AOC a psychopath? Oh yeah, and you say that because Paula Jean, in my opinion, has exposed herself that I didn't know she was a certain way on Twitter. But that's another story we need to cover today. And I think that's all the super chats. I'm going through to make sure I did not forget anything or miss anything. If you sent a super chat and I didn't cover it, it was not intentional. We are working on getting some producers here more regularly that will make, and a producer will ensure things like this are not forgotten. I think I've scrolled through enough. I don't see any. All right, so I'm going to be heading out. Don't forget, tomorrow, Sabby and JB show. The Nick and CJ show may be here, or I might do You Left Shit Out. Not quite sure. Didn't have to use my phone today. No big glitches in the stream. So here is MLK taking us out.
We read by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But if a man doesn't have a job, nor liberty.
Wait, let's see here. If there's an issue. Hopefully I'm able to do an outro video. Hopefully Twitter's not acting up. Yesterday it was, but let's try that again.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed